Oh, so I'm playing Metroid Dread.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor got it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like point for point, just kind of like in with like we're at the same points, kind of like back and forth.
Oh, you're
like he gets a little bit ahead of me, and then I get a little ahead of him, and then back and forth. I'm like, oh, I'm at this point. And he's like, oh, I'm at this point. I'm like, oh. He's like, yeah, I just found all this stuff. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I find all of it. I'm like, oh, I just got that. And he's like, oh, I got stuck at this point. And like, I'm just like slurped up. It's like I'm so excited about playing Metroid Dread.
Salivating. That was brutal.
But yeah, no, what's really cool. Like, I'm really happy that I found out that like snapshot, like video thing for the Switch. Because like if one of us gets stuck, we can like take a quick little video and be like, oh, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And like, I need to know I could do that as well. So I'm like, hey, look at me playing. He's like, how did you do that? Whoa. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you hear that?
No.
Oh, both my ankles just popped. I wonder if you could hear it.
No.
Like, it went click, click one, click, click two.
That's gross. Let us in.
This is Tommy.
This is Jacob.
This is
Tommy and Jacob's mixtape.
Popping ankles.
Ew.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, man, you startled me.
Mm-hmm.
Hey. I was getting ready to be like, are you ready to start, Tommy? And you're like, hey. I'm like, ah.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back.
Hope everyone's doing good and enjoying the spooky time of the year.
Spooky, spooky. God, we're already on like the 13th, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm going to. And I'll probably, this is what I think I'm going to do with that whole like Child's Play stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is I'm going to watch the first episode of the Chucky series.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to and then I'll do a little bit of review with that. And then I'm going to go, or maybe, I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I just second guessed myself. But the new Chucky series that I got DVR'd, and I'm excited to watch it. And I will try to do a report back to you guys on like what I think of it, especially because Child's Play is another one of my favorite horror franchises.
I think you like all those classic.
Yeah, I mean the 80s, like the 80s and like Halloween 70s, but like just like the classic slasher genre is just. I mean, I grew up with it, so there's like a level of nostalgia, and it definitely desensitized me to a lot of shit. Because like I remember yesterday, when I was talking about Squid Games, I was like, yeah, no, or Squid Game. Is it games or game? I can't remember. Anyway, but
I don't know.
But I was like, yeah, I was just gonna watch a couple episodes and go to bed, and you're like, all that murder, you're gonna go to bed after that, and I didn't even register. I mean, like, because like watching murder is just kind of like.
Well, I meant more like the social. Like dynamic of it. It's just tense.
Oh, you mean how everything lives in the world? Like I have already accepted the reality of our world.
No, that's just like it's dick. No, just like the whole. It's it's the challenge, but with murder.
No, exactly. Like it's it's very much a social commentary on the reality game show shit that we like watch on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're talking about today. We are doing a review. Tommy, you want to tell us what we're reviewing today?
2000's Final Destination.
Woo!
Released March 17th, 2000. I don't know.
Yes, its premiere was March 16th, the day before. Oh. Yeah, it's got a 6.7 on IMDb. Its original working title was Flight 180. Which is the flight that they're on,
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there thinking the producers wanted to change the name from Flight 180 because there was too many like action movies coming out around that time,
Air Force One,
Con Air, and whatnot. So they changed to Final Destination, which I think because of changing the name, it was helpful to spawn the sequels to this movie. Because think about Flight 180. What are you gonna do? Flight 181, Flight 182? Man, that actually doesn't sound bad. But Final Destination kind of like it's more like a definitive name to like have there be a 2 Final Destination 3 for like a movie title, Flight 181.
Yeah, but you could have I don't know.
Or Flight 182. Flight 180. You don't survive this time. I don't know. Especially since where the final it gets stuck in an airplane situation,
Yeah, well, it's because the second one's on the freeway, right?
Yeah, that's with the log.
Yeah. I still get freaked out by those.
Oh yeah, no, it's terrifying to think about. Box office wise, this movie was number 49 domestically. Did you get worldwide?
It was number 38 worldwide.
Which I think this is one of the few times we've actually seen the worldwide for a movie like this go up.
Yeah.
And it's actually like if you look at the what it made gross worldwide, like half of it was domestic and half of it was the rest of the world. So this movie actually was like, for a horror movie, an American horror movie, generally they don't do well overseas. But I think this one just had like this movie really speaks to a generation of people for horror movies. Like it actually it was tense kind of watching it this time through.
Oh, shit. Well, yeah, like the budget was $23 million and then grossed worldwide about $186.2 million. So made a lot back, actually.
No, yeah, no. It made.
I wrote the numbers, but it didn't register what they were.
Oh, yeah, no, it made that plus a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was so successful that it did spawn the sequels, and the sequels were just as successful. They're not as good, but.
Yeah. Interesting. I was making fun of Fallon.
What?
Nothing. Sorry.
Oh, something to talk about later?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's go into... Oh, do you have your synopsis?
Yeah. Tommy's synopsis. When a high school student saves 6 fellow people from a plane explosion, Mr. Death takes it personally and begins picking them off one by one in a domino effect type style of destruction, mayhem, and death.
And you're not... Yeah. I was almost going into review over there. Yeah, so that's actually really... Mr. Death.
Mr. Death.
You know, I remember... So, really quick, this is really ridiculous to me. When I was younger watching this, I was so confused at the fact that there wasn't an actual, like, murderer in it.
It's a serial killer without it's a slasher without a serial killer.
Yeah, kind of thing. That when I saw Tony Todd's character playing the mortuary guy, Bloodworth or whatever his name.
Bloodworth.
Yeah.
It's like BLUD.
Yeah. I was like, oh, he's the killer, isn't he? I remember saying that to my friend. Like, have you not been paying attention to this film? There is no killer. I was like, no, there's got to be a killer.
He's did you know he's actually the voice of Venom in the Spider-Man 2 game?
No, that's actually kind of cool.
Rad, right? I mean, that's good casting. That's cool.
All right, so let's start at the top. Let's go with a director.
Sorry, is that gonna be a spoiler? No, that can't be a spoiler.
What? Spider-Man 2?
That he's Venom? Is that
in Spider-Man 2?
Yeah.
In the video game, right?
In Marvel Spider-Man 2.
What?
The Spider-Man games are called Marvel Spider-Man.
Oh, you were talking about the new... I thought you were talking about, like, the old video game.
No, the new one coming out.
Oh.
He's going to be Venom.
I mean, if it's already a casting choice, then it's not a spoiler.
Right.
I mean, it's been announced, yes.
Yeah.
Or... I don't know.
Anyways.
This movie was directed by James Wong.
James Wong.
Looking through his career, he's been more of a producer and a writer. What?
Nothing.
Just how quickly I was like, and moving on.
No. I was gonna say something mean, and I was like, I gotta stop being mean.
What? No, now I want to know. You can't just dangle the hook out there. I'm gonna bite.
Continue. We'll get to it. I just want to figure out a way to say it that's not so mean.
Fine. All right. Yeah. So James Wong. So he's more known for directing. All I got was the one Final Destination 3, Dragon Ball Evolution. God, I hate that movie so much. And a multiple series of X-Files, or episodes of X-Files, which actually there's a lot of ties of X-Files with this movie. But because of James Wong and his writing partner, Glenn Morgan. But yeah. And I mean, yeah, so like since James Wong is more of a writer, so also his writing credits again go through X-Files, Millennium. He also wrote Final Destination 3. It's weird. Him and Morgan were part of Final Destination 3, but like Final Destination 2 is just like was completely separate. I mean, completely different people. I found it kind of interesting. Like I feel like they wanted to wrap it up. You know, I was like, all right, let's end it. Like this, we didn't want this to continue. Kind of like Wes Craven. Like he was director for the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and then had nothing to do with the second one, and then came back for the third one trying to make a conclusion, and the like New Line Cinema was like, nope, we're gonna do more. Hey, New Line Cinema.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. This really interesting show he wrote called Space Above and Beyond, which only had like a season, but is very has a really high IMDb rating. And I was looking up to see where I could watch it just to give it a shot. Can't stream it anywhere, and the complete series DVD online for Amazon is sold for $109. So this is like a rare like I think it's kind of, I feel like it was like a big thing that popped off like maybe Firefly, and then just got pushed under the radar or canceled by Fox way too early.
Yeah.
But and also, I mean, it sounds like a Fox. I think it was on Fox. Like David Duchovny was in an episode of it and stuff. So, but I mean, also James Wong and Glenn Morgan were so tied with X-Files that, like, I think that just kind of like why David Duchovny would do that. But also James Wong also writing. He wrote The One as well, and he's main writer on American Horror Story.
And I just want to point out, if no one remembers The One. The One is awesome.
Jet Li
and the most terrible, and Jason Statham.
Oh, I forgot Jason Statham. Actually, you bought me that movie a long time ago, and I just never put it in.
Yeah, you've seen it, right?
I've seen it, but like I haven't seen it since I was 19 or 20.
The One, I really think that certain people will get a fucking kick out of it. I just want to explain what it is.
It's like time based, isn't it?
It's parallel universes.
That's right.
So there's like Jet Li plays like a serial killer that goes around to the parallel universes and kills his other versions. And when you kill your other versions, it's like Highlander, you get all their energy. So he's basically like a fucking superhero.
Man, I really don't. I mean, I remember what you're saying, but I don't remember like the absorbing power, the Highlander part of it. So that's kind of funny.
And then he goes to the last one, and also, but that Jet Li is really nice and a nice guy, and he's trying to kill the nice Jet Li, and then Jet Li is trying to defend himself from the evil Jet Li, and then Jason Statham is like a multiverse cop.
I was gonna say, is he like the leader, like the cop of the fourth dimension type thing?
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. It's so bad, but it's awesome.
That movie, that's actually pretty ahead of its time. The idea of time.
It is.
Thinking about the fourth dimension and shit, like they probably don't even bring it up really about the fourth dimension. Like, do they talk about the fourth dimensional time travel or anything?
I mean, they time travel.
Well, yeah, I don't. Or parallel
jump.
I don't know. That's interesting.
I really want to. We should review that. I want to rewatch that because I haven't seen it since I was like.
You know
12.
what's actually that idea kind of fits for someone who was a writer on X-Files, if you think about it.
It sounds like an X-Files episode.
Yeah, because there is an X-Files episode about traveling between parallel dimensions in season 8. Or no, it's season 9 when Doggett and this is after Mulder has left the series, and Doggett gets shot through another dimension, and like, yeah, no, I shouldn't be, yeah. Don't want to go down that X-Files rabbit hole. I'm going to go down enough already talking about this.
James Wong, yes, also did 14 episodes of American Horror Story, scattered throughout.
From the beginning to even recent.
Yeah, like he's just kind of one of the.
I would say one of the lead writers. Maybe, what do you say, lead writer? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to say that and be incorrect because we don't know.
He's definitely like
his fingers in the pie.
A popular writer.
Yeah, he's a popular writer for their series.
So going on down to other writers as well. Glenn Morgan, who is kind of like James Wong's, like, they're the X-Files partners. They're like kind of partners in writing. They have a lot of the same stuff written together. Pretty much everything that we said from James Wong, except for like American Horror Story.
Yeah, and Glenn Morgan did the screenplay for Willard and Black Christmas, which are both pretty fun movies.
And some new Twilight Zone episodes.
And some of the new canceled.
Which
Twilight
Black
Zone. Christmas,
I always thought I had seen. I like every time someone says it, I immediately go to the Santa Claus, like, you know, like Claus, not the Claus like with Tim Allen, but like Claus like a monster. Just to describe to people, know that I'm moving my wrist like a rar.
Okay, Jack Skellington, we get it.
But no, and it's also Black Christmas. That's a remake of a like 1970s original slasher.
Willard's the dad from Back to the Future, right?
Yeah, Crispin Glover.
Thank you. That's his name, Crispin
yes.
Glover. And he talks to rats.
Yeah, he has a weird connection with rats.
It's kind of a horror movie, right?
It is a horror movie. Like, he kills.
I'm gonna make a paired list for that one.
People that can control animals.
Yeah.
I'll think about that.
Yeah.
There's something on the tip of my head. The tip of my head. Okay. We know. Okay. All right. So, and then going into like for further writing. So this movie, the story was created by a guy named Jeffrey Reddick, and looking at like his IMDb, this is kind of really the most popular thing. Like, do you have anything that you wanted to point out of it? His like list was Tamara, which I had never heard of.
Yeah, Tamara's kind of like a little culty classic.
Yeah. So like this was kind of like, I feel like he sold the rights to Final Destination pretty much to New Line Cinema, and I got actually a little bit of history about that for notes, like some notes history of this movie that we'll talk about later. Like he kind of like sold the rights, and I think he just he made some money, and then was able to kind of like do a little bit of stuff, and maybe he just doesn't have really other good ideas, or he's just living happily off the Final Destination rights.
Oh, and I meant to mention
royalties.
too. Oh, just to kind of backtrack real quick. James Wong is a producer of American Horror Story.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, he is.
Yeah.
So yeah, he probably is like a
Yeah,
lead writer in a way.
Yeah.
So it's like him and Ryan Murphy then pretty much are like Ryan Murphy created it.
God, this pen smears really bad.
Yeah, that's cool.
Gross.
Anywho,
I'm just noticing my notes are all fucking looks like I'm crying over them. Anyways,
Jeffrey Reddick. We'll talk a little Reddick a little bit more, but like I said, when I go through my notes. So I guess let's. Do you have any other like notes through that stuff? Do you want to move on to starring?
That was pretty much it.
So this movie has a lot of people in it. It's a lot of people, and I couldn't keep my list very short, but I definitely want to keep some of the people that we talk about just like more to like a one movie, like why they were popular at the time type thing.
Sounds good.
Definitely the biggest star or the top name, Devin Sawa, who at this time was super fucking big. And it's like literally I had a flashback when we were talking about him in Idle Hands, and he's playing almost kind of like not the same character. No, actually, sorry. No, I'm thinking of Elijah Wood from The Faculty.
He does. Devin Sawa does Unhinged really well.
Yeah, he does.
I want to see more of that because I was thinking when I was watching it, I got a very SLC Punk.
Dude, he was super unhinged in that movie.
Oh yeah, because he had like 20 tabs.
What was it? 20 tabs of acid
in the system. My mom is the devil. Like he was great. I mean, it was funny but sad at the same time. But
he's like, I mean, he's just for this time he was a very like for a teen actor he was really good. Oh, I forgot to write down the ages of when they were. Man. Oh well, I missed that. Ages that I think they're all under 24. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, whatever.
I just think
because it also doesn't take place in a high school, so
no. But it's like their senior year.
Did you know there was a sequel to SLC Punk?
Yeah, I tried to watch it.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's not that good. Machine Gun Kelly is kind of funny in it.
He's in it.
Yeah.
When did this come out?
2016.
Oh wow.
Maybe 2013. No, I think it's 2016.
Years after the first, like a while.
Oh, a long time. No, because it follows Heroin Bob's son.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And like Heroin Bob is like a ghost narrating it. It's weird. Yeah.
Is
Matthew Lillard?
Yeah, is he in it?
No.
What? Oh, fuck it then. I'm not gonna watch it.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. Like I said, I didn't even finish it. I got like halfway through it and then I fell asleep and I haven't really desired to turn it back on. So that says something.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll say Machine Gun Kelly I strangely have grown to enjoy and like over the last couple of years, especially since his pop punk album came out. But anywho,
Devin Sawa. You might know him as the
Idle Hands,
Casper.
Punk, Casper, Little Giants. Those are kind of like Now and Then. Like he was a young star on the rise, which is why he was such well casted for this movie and like one of the better actors through the entire movie. And then Ali Larter is kind of like the next big star, which
he's in Chucky.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was going to bring that up. Yeah. Which I'm excited to see his performance in and who he is. Ali Larter. Okay. So I thought her name through the entire movie was Claire.
Not Clear.
It was Clear River. Is that literally
Rivers?
Yeah. Clear Rivers. Mm-hmm. What a fucking hippie name.
Well, she was born in She had to be born in the 70s.
And her parents are
late
like
70s.
Not there or anywhere. Like I'm like, what the?
Yeah.
fuck?
Well, because on the back of the photo,
and she's an artsy girl.
It says 1986, and she's like 10, so she was born in like 1976. So
yeah, I want to say that's what I saw.
So that I'm
yeah, I know. Just I hate when I see names like that. I'm like, oh. Especially like for someone wrote that name down.
Yeah, apparently it was an homage to one of their assistants.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Rivers.
Oh, there's
was
actually,
their maiden name.
I don't know. I can't remember if I have this in my notes, but apparently a lot of the names in this movie
Oh, yeah.
are nods to like famous old horror directors. Like
One of the last names is Hitchcock.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is Sean William Scott's character. Yeah. But and then like looking through them, like some, like, but they're also like I wouldn't say obscure, but more popular for like the 40s, 50s, and 60s type of directors. Mm-hmm. So like this isn't like no Carpenter or Craven. You know?
Yeah. You might recognize her from Varsity Blues. She was in Legally Blonde. Mm-hmm. She's in the sequel, Final Destination, and she's also in 2 Resident Evil movies. 2?
Yeah, three. I think 3.
I know she's in Extinction.
She was in the second one, and I think she's in
the second one.
She was introduced in the second one.
What's the second one?
I just have like a vision of a graveyard with Jill Valentine. That's all.
I only really remember the first one.
Same.
The rest of them are like kind of a hodgepodge blur.
I definitely have seen the first one multiple times.
First one's cool.
And then after that, it's like I know I've seen the second one, and then I think I've seen the third or fourth or fifth. I've only seen one other one after that.
And then she's also an Obsessed.
Yeah. Like
with Beyonce.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. Her big thing before this movie was like she got a really big break on Varsity Blues.
Did you ever see Obsessed?
Yeah.
It's actually pretty good.
Dude, Beyonce kicks the shit out of her.
Beyonce's awesome. Yeah. She beats the living shit out of her.
And Drive Me Crazy and like House on a Haunted Hill and Dawson's. She was in 2 episodes of Dawson's Creek, which I think that was kind of like, there was stuff before. Like I like to see what, especially during this time, like what they were doing before, what led them to the horror.
The path, yeah.
And then, so yeah, we got, Chad Donnella, who is...
Chad?
Did I say Chad?
You said Chad.
Chad Donnella.
Chad Donnella. Chad
Donnella, who was UV in Disturbing Behavior.
Yeah, I know. How weird was that?
I was like, whoa, what? And
he looks so different.
Also, he's one of the 5 crossovers that I saw from X-Files.
Oh, really?
He's a guest star in one of the X-Files episodes.
Oh, funny.
Like he plays he's a kid who is a monster that's like thirsting for blood that works at a fast food place.
Okay.
If people are recognized, and it's called Hunger. I want to say the episode is. It's from season 6. And then Sean William Scott, who most popular known as Stifler. Like that's really like
American Pie.
Yeah, American Pie. And then obviously like, later on Goon,
The Rundown.
What is it? Dukes of Hazzard.
The Rundown, one of Dwayne Johnson's first like movies. Mm-hmm. Which is
they're also in
really
Southland Tales together.
Yeah. Role Models with Paul Rudd. That movie's
so fucking
funny. That was also like kind of like during Paul Rudd's like comeback.
I don't know if he would ever say he had a comeback. He was just kind of like there for a while.
Yeah, but then
he popped off really big because of during like the Judd Apatow stuff.
Yeah, like Role Models. Like I feel like it was around the time he started becoming like leading man again, like the forefront.
I don't think he was really a leading man before that though. He was kind of like supporting like funny guy. I mean, he was on Friends.
I got a little too stoned last night.
Anywho, let's not worry about Paul Rudd.
What? I always worry about Paul. How you doing, buddy? I would love to.
Who would have thought? Not me.
I would love to meet Paul Rudd. That's like
look at us. Look at us. All right. And then we got Kerr Smith, who plays one of the jock guy, Carter. He is popular from Dawson's Creek in this.
Charmed, Riverdale.
Oh yeah, later. And then he was also in My Bloody Valentine. And then
Kristen.
Oh, the teacher.
Yeah, Kristen Cloak. The only reason I bring her up too, because if you look up Kristen Cloak on IMDb, her like user picture, dude, she looks like fucking Lori from Walking Dead.
Yeah, a little bit.
I thought it was her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I was doing my notes, I was like, oh, she's in this. And I clicked on her and I went, that's not her.
That's not her.
That's not her at all.
She's also another of the crossovers from the X-Files, married to Glenn Morgan. She was one of the stars. She played a person with multiple personality disorder in X-Files.
She's also in 13th Warrior.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I just kind of glanced over her. Mm-hmm. And then Amanda Detmer. This is kind of like her big, like, other than Drop Dead Gorgeous, but that just had like a cast of like very beautiful women in it. That were all really funny, but mm-hmm. But like this is kind of like her first big like thing, and then she kind of like fell. I don't want to say into obscurity, but she doesn't really do a lot The biggest thing I saw after that was like Saving Silverman.
That movie's funny too.
That movie's hilarious. I love that movie. And if you pick up one nacho and they all stick together, it's still one nacho.
Who are the friends in that?
It's Steve Zahn and Jack Black.
Right.
With Amanda Peet. Jason Bigg.
Yeah, and then around that time, Orange County came out too.
They were obsessed with Neil Diamond.
Yeah. Funny.
And then, I got Tony Todd as well, just as a quick, callback from Candyman. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of people in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they're, so just really quick, the other X-Files crossovers that I saw was, the teacher, Chad Donella, and then the French teacher, he's kind of like one of the men in the background for X-Files, like one of the men that control the conspiracy. Mm-hmm. And then Alex's
Forbes Angus.
Yeah. And then Devin Sawa's character, Alex, his father is also in 2 episodes of X-Files. He's like the guy that has mind control. That's kind of like Mulder's like arch nemesis. He like takes control over Mulder's mind in an episode.
Robert Wisden.
Mm-hmm. And then the other one was just kind of literally just like a background person. I was like, I've seen them in X-Files as well.
Little X-Files reunion show.
It's really fun. It's like I've been rewatching X-Files just like as background noise while I'm like playing video games or like, just doing stuff. So like I love me some X-Files. So yeah, a lot of actors, a lot of people in this movie. Do you got any what do you got for reviews?
So I broke kind of my rule that I started. I went back to Ebert, just because I really liked his like end of his, and also I had this weird problem with this one. So I went through trying to find a bunch of reviews, and I went to Metacritic again because that's where I start, and then you can read full reviews. But a lot of them, the articles are no longer up on the sites.
Interesting.
So you couldn't read the full review.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, so it was kind of limited. And his was the only one that was still up. Not only one, but like a one that I really liked. So Roger Ebert said, they, Wong and Morgan, haven't made a great or distinguished film, but working within a entire genre with a talented cast, they brought unusual substance and impact to the DTM, Dead Teenager Movies. The vision of the airplane crash is remarkably scary, and other scenes, like a car stopped on the railroad tracks, work, even though they're cliches. Because of the dialogue and the motivations of the characters, Final Destination will no doubt be a hit and inspire the obligatory sequels. Like the original Scream, this movie is too good to be the end of the road. I have visions of my own.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of actually that's very much what my review is.
It's like Roger, it's what happened. Yeah. Like your visions were correct. Like
he had a premonition.
And then if you go on Metacritic too, like I was explaining,
he saw a trail of explosions of Final Destination 2, Final Destination 3, The Final Destination,
and then Final Destination 5,
and now 6 coming out next year.
Yeah. So the score distribution on Metacritic is 4 positive, 10 mixed, 14 negative, and the one that cracked me up was, so this is like one of the articles I couldn't find like the entire thing.
Yeah.
The San Francisco Examiner, Walter Adigo, stupid.
Just that's it. Just stupid. It's stupid. Like, cool, bro. Do you want to elaborate? Stupid.
Where's the other one?
Sorry, I'm done.
The Washington Post, Rita Kempley, your own Final Destination just might be the box office to demand your money back.
Stupid.
Newsweek, Robert Cashill, Final Destination, ? Video store bins.
Whoa! Brutal.
TNT Rough Cut, Tom Capello, inane, irresponsible, immature, poorly written. Like, people, majority.
Wow, man.
And then like another one, Daily News, Jim Bernard, A Mediocre Fright Fest. Like some of them are like fine.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Baltimore Sun, Chris Kaltenbach, Fitfully Thrilling. Like, but more often than not, people are like, give me my money back.
That's lame. Stupid.
Stupid.
You're stupid.
And then just like one actual positive one. Los Angeles Times, Kevin Thomas, a terrific theatrical feature debut for television veterans Glenn Morgan and James Wong.
Yeah, okay, I like that. I feel like Roger Ebert's is more like, I mean, because it's mine is very similar to that. Like Roger Ebert's is really on the nose because it's not saying like this is stupid or anything. He's just
by saying that and the saying yours is really similar is just you patting yourself on the back. Just want to point that out.
Fuck you, man. God. Fine, I'll just read it and you can see how similar they are. All right, so here's mine.
Okay.
The phrase "death lurks." God damn you.
Okay, I'm done.
The phrase "death lurks around every corner" is a warning and an understatement when it comes to 2000's Final Destination. After Alex has a premonition of the plane he is on exploding, him and his high school colleagues are thrown off the plane in the nick of time. But now they find themselves getting picked off one by one as death works its way to catch up with them. When it comes to suspenseful horror movies, Final Destination is one of the best. Most horror films up to this point use a stalking killer or some sort of creature to create the tension, but this movie breaks the mold and makes us fear our general surroundings and the 1 in a million chance accident that could lead to our untimely demise. The cinematography does a great job accenting these moments with close-ups of simple items and motions we go through day to day. The creativity of the deaths leaves a mark on our psyche, leading us wanting to be more careful in our everyday routines. A strange highlight and downfall of the movie is its cast of characters by being believable and unbelievable at the same time. The characters are grounded in the world of the movie, but are rather one-dimensional. The overly aggressive jock, the artsy girl, and of course, the everyman kid that rises above to save the day, or so we think. The movie ends in mid-action, perhaps to hint at a sequel, which of course many have been made, or rather tell us that death will be never-ending looping back to them until it takes what it's owed. Leaving the message the movie has been telling us the entire time: you can't cheat death.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Your silence is always kind of like, it's like, what do you think? What's he going to say next?
Well, it's just always funny to me, too, that, like, with you and Ebert, you obviously view film similarly, and it's one of those, it's nice. Like an objective, like, kind of lens type thing, just looking at it as a piece of art? Yeah, well, and it's also just kind of interesting, too, because it's like, from my youth, I always remember Ebert being the type of person to rip shit apart.
I vaguely have a feeling of that too, but I'm starting to maybe think that the way that I was just interpreting it was him ripping apart something that I enjoyed, as opposed to just speaking honestly of what
it was.
Yeah,
and it's just kind of interesting that you guys are both following the same kind of.
It's like what? Well, I mean, a big thing is like I guess my directing past. It's like when you're looking at something to make it better, you're objectively looking at what worked and what didn't work.
Well, yeah, and it's also just when doing this podcast too, we have started looking at movies in a different lens.
I mean, it's definitely honed. I've generally looked at movies like that for a long time because of my training and directing and stuff.
You ruined Batman for me.
Yeah, well, you also wanted to fucking watch it. All right. So before we go into kind of like running down of the movie, I got a couple of notes of like the history of this movie as well. And I don't know, you can bounce it off because you said you found some like fun stuff, some trivia of it as well.
Yeah.
So this movie was originally for Reddick, who was the story creator and original screenplay writer. This was originally an idea. It was a spec script for an X-Files episode that he wrote. That was his attempt to get an agent. Instead, he had a friend that worked at New Line Cinema that just told him to write it as a full-length script, and then it was eventually sold to New Line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You just kind of looked at me like,
I'm just listening.
Oh, yeah.
Just listening to you.
The way you looked at me was like, yeah, so like, what do you got about that? I'm like, okay. And then, so this is, from Reddick. He has a quote about like what kind of inspired him was like, he was, flying home from Kentucky, and I read a story about a woman who was on vacation and her mom called and said, don't take the flight tomorrow. I have a really bad feeling about it. The woman switched flights, and the plane she would have been on crashed. And he thought, said Reddick, I thought that's creepy. What if she was supposed to die on that flight?
Mm-hmm.
And which kind of is like created the whole spawn of all that stuff. And then, so after Reddick sold it to New Line, the New Line then submitted it to directors, which James Wong and Glenn Morgan were the ones that picked it up. And they rewrote the script kind of like with their idea into it. Yeah. So like, I'm kind of curious what the original script what like Reddick's like original treatment and script was. I don't think there is any like documentation of it anywhere. It's probably lost on a shelf somewhere, a New Line.
I was reading that the original idea was going to be way darker.
Probably.
Well, that was what the original concept was going to be, was kind of more along the lines of Flatliners.
Oh, interesting.
So what was going to happen is that these 6 kids were going to live through the what is it? Destiny. Ordained?
Preordained.
Is that right? Is that the right terminology?
Like before you're like what outside of what you're destined to do?
No, okay.
Trying to use the force there.
So basically what was going to happen was the original idea is that these kids were going to be haunted by their loved ones on the plane.
Oh, okay.
And then this is going to be touchy, this next part of this phrase.
Okay.
And they were going to be driven to suicide.
Oh.
So one of the ideas.
Fuck.
So one of the ideas is I think it was Clear. She was going to be one of 2 sisters, and her sister was going to be the perfect A student, the popular, everyone wants to be here girl. And then once the accident happens, the sister was going to start haunting the Clear character. And she was going to start acting like the sister, dressing like the sister, becoming the sister in this weird sense of guilt. And then the haunting was going to drive her to taking her own life.
Jesus. That is fucking dark.
And they went, that's probably not a good idea. We probably shouldn't do that. So let's do something else. So that was the initial idea. Yeah. And I was kind of like, it really just made me think of Flatliners. I was like, that's because that goes way more into like psychological thriller than anything else. And I was like, that's kind of actually a pretty dark, interesting take on this, because it goes into,
how did they get off the plane? Why did they get off the plane?
That's interesting. It goes into survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, oh, that's kind of a weird idea.
It's kind of an interesting thing because like even the movie that we watched, or the movie that it has a little bit of a nod to survivor's guilt as well.
Not Sawa. That dude handles everything in that movie way too well.
Yeah, that's true.
That really bugs me.
It was kind of like poorly. That was kind of like a really poorly written thing. Like especially when his friend, the first friend is found dead post the crash, and he's just like, "What? What happened? Like, dude, your best friend just died, and you're just like."
There's like no emotional response.
Yeah, almost no emotional response other than weird confusion.
And then I guess like the other thing that's kind of an interesting history about this is that there's a lot of back and forth if this was actually based on a plane crash.
Like an actual plane crash?
Yeah, you weren't reading about that?
No.
Yeah, even in part of Ebert's review too, they were talking about that. They went on record, the writers went on record saying that's not the case.
Yeah, because everything I found, they're not even talking about something like that.
Well, because how did it work out? How was the timeline? Well, basically, yeah. So there was another plane crash around the same time.
That may have been what Reddick was inspired by.
And it was a French club, and there was an actual plane crash that actually ended up killing a bunch of high school students, and then even some people too from the debris falling from. And it was a big plane crash in the 90s, and they were quoted saying that's not the case. It's very just coincidental, and there's a lot of back and forth because it's like timeline wise, it's kind of like. It kind of seems like this, but they're saying no. But even the creator of X-Files, Chris Carter, said that the episode that the movie is based off was written in 93.
Yeah.
The plane crash happened in 96.
Yeah.
The script was starting to be written in 98, and then it was made in 2000.
Yeah.
So he's like, no. But it's also like, I mean, it's one of those like kind of like, I don't know, it could be a he said, she said thing. I don't know. It's coincidental.
Because like there is like an idea from, because Morgan and Wong had an idea. Like this is like, it's really strange that Reddick wrote a screenplay that was kind of like originally an idea for an X-Files episode. Morgan and Wong both had an idea for an X-Files thing that was different from this, but like they started working in 93, you know, like, yeah. I don't know. I didn't even know really about that airplane crash, but even so, I have like statements from Wong and Morgan about their creation of this movie. So like one of them went on to say like we wanted to do for planes and air travel what Jaws did for sharks and swimming. And then Wong also stated, one thing we were all in agreement on from the start is that we didn't want to do a slasher movie. I became very excited when we decided to make the world at large in the service of death our antagonist. Everyday objects and occurrences then take on ominous proportions, and it becomes less about whether or not our characters are going to die and more about how they will die and how they can delay their deaths. The entertainment value is in the ride, not the outcome. And by placing the premise of the film on the inevitability of death, we play a certain philosophical note. So, like, the idea of the movie it's the happenstance of an airplane crash just happens to be the inciting action of this movie that leads to there being. It's about so much more than just an airplane, you know. So, like, if anything, maybe the airplane crash was like, oh, those, like, they saw like the quick news clip of that, and then it led into like, oh well, what if people are supposed to survive? What happens to like the strange the people that got off the, you know, like,
yeah,
like this movie is so much more about a plane accident.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because even like Morgan's like the main thing we wanted about death coming to get people is that you never saw kind of Michael Myers figure. You never saw a killer. The movie was more about how people die after an act, like from an idea that they were supposed to die in.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is like all very pointed stuff to make it to tear it. But also, like, why would they even be like, we don't want to, you know? Yeah, like if it was inspired by that, is that a big deal?
I would say that's pretty uncouth at the time.
Like it's like too soon type thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and also just because, I mean, think about it too, because like that plane crash happened. This is in 2000, right around the corner is 9/11.
Well, yeah, but we're like, we can't even like put 9/11 into like into a thing. 9/11 is literally a year and a half away.
No, I know, but I think that it maybe, I don't know. I just really think that it's one of those things. I could see it being either way. I could see it. They honestly were not. They just had this idea, and then it's like, oh, it's just really coincidence, or they kind of took some inspiration from this and maybe didn't want to admit it, because I could see that pissing people off.
I mean, this is also like the late 90s, and like
they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
The 90s, dude, 90s for movies with a wild west, y'all.
Yeah, it's like oh, this happened in the media. Who cares? Yeah, let's talk about it.
Well, because I couldn't find, and I didn't really even want to bring it up, but since we're kind of talking about it, did find a couple like claims that the footage that Sawa and the people are watching about like after the accident and finding debris and stuff is real news footage from that plane crash. I couldn't find any confirmation that was true.
That sounds like some hibbity.
You know, I mean, if someone knows, they can totally message us, because I couldn't find any. I found a bunch of stuff on it, but I couldn't find any source that was concrete.
Yeah,
this is the thing. And that was the problem with both sides of the story, of it being just the X-Files and inspiration just from an episode there. That's what they're saying. Mm-hmm. And then other people are saying on the other side of, no, it's based, you know what I mean? So it's this very like two camp kind of situation. And I'm like, I don't know. Like,
well, in the X-Files episode that's like about the plane crash, that's a whole thing of like this guy was traveling with like some like plutonium or something, and a seat, like he's being assassinated. He gets abducted off of an airplane, which causes the airplane to crash, and like the government's hiding the conspiracy, making it more of a bomb situation when he was actually abducted off of the airplane that caused it to crash.
Well, that's what's crazy too about watching that whole scene with Sawa. We'll get into that when we get into the movie.
I mean, yeah, let's actually get into the movie, because I mean that's the beginning of the movie.
Well, so Sawa is Alex Browning. And they're going to France, and yada yada yada, and you start meeting.
Yeah, it's going to be a school trip.
It's a school trip,
and all the kids apparently they're going to France for their French trip, but like
no one speaks French.
One of them knows French, because they're high school students and they don't care. I'm pretty sure the teachers would be like, only the students that they know how to speak French are coming
to the French to France.
I don't know. I mean, Bert went to Russia and became the Machine without knowing any Russian.
But yeah, so like there's this whole sequence where, the plane takes off, and then you find out that Sawa's actually just asleep and having this detailed premonition of
Well, he keeps seeing a lot of things that are like spooking him, you know.
Oh yeah.
Also,
like,
the night before, death blew through the window onto his face or whatever.
yeah.
The wind came in. Oh, death, is that you? Oh, sorry.
Fucking Edward from Twilight. You got derailed.
Sorry. Yeah. So he has he sees a bunch of things that are kind of like making him uneasy about getting on the plane, like almost kind of like warnings. And then he sees the plane explode.
Well, and like the key thing is that when he moved, like, so these girls ask him to switch seats, and he goes over and sits next to his buddy Todd, TOD, which is like German for death or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just, those fucking IMDb. Some user threw that on there. I don't know.
It's German for death.
I'm not fluent in German. And when he sits down in the seat, he goes to open the little tray, and the knob pops off, so it breaks, and then the whole thing proceeds where he like. The plane crashes, and it's pretty horrifying, actually. The plane going down is pretty intense.
That's actually, I mean, because I've never been on an airplane. People don't know that. I know it's weird. But it does make me kind of like uneasy, like, hey, shit, I don't know if I want to get on an airplane now. I know that it's very 1 in a million type thing. Or
it's very
actually, no, I think the odds are smaller than 1 in a million.
It's very unlikely, especially in today's day and age.
Yeah.
But
the TSA is keeping us safe.
But the flame then explodes and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up, and he's had this entire very detailed premonition.
In a fucking sweat.
Mm-hmm. And he's all sweaty, and he gets up, and he runs over to the seat that he had moved into as a dream, and he pulls out the knob, and it breaks. And then the dude has a fucking conniption. And what I thought was so funny, too, was like the change of times. You go on an airplane and start screaming at the top of your lungs, the plane's going to explode. Everybody gets off that plane.
Yeah.
They don't leave. They don't fuck around with
that. It's like, all right, this plane is not leaving now.
Yeah, this plane is not leaving.
Until there's like an inspection and all that stuff. Yeah.
You're going to be handcuffed and gagged and taken to the bowels of the airport if you say that kind of shit.
Yeah. And so pretty much Carter then, like, you know, tries to attack. I'm an angry jock.
Dude, what the fuck was Carter's deal, bro?
Dude, steroids.
Is that what it was?
I don't fucking know. It's the 90s.
No, but he says, like, yo, man, like, lay off the JS or GS or something.
JD
or something. I was like, what the fuck is JD? And
Zach Braff from Scrubs? I don't know.
GD.
Oh, it's
Save
GD.
the GD.
Yeah.
Because someone explain, what the fuck is GD? I know I could Google it, but
yeah.
I don't fucking...
I just assumed it was, some type of steroid type thing, yeah. So, yeah, everyone, poor Bill Hitchcock. I didn't get in a fight. I was just trying to get to my seat.
It was weird seeing him as the bullied.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the bully.
It was kind of, I mean, so apparently that role, this is Sean William Scott's character. It was, when he read the script, it was, his character was supposed to be like overweight.
Uh-huh.
So like he was supposed to be the bullied, but there was just something about his like audition that they're like, actually he has kind of like an innocence to him.
Yeah.
Like he would, I mean, it's very far. It's the you'll never see Sean William Scott really play a role like this ever again.
Mm-mm.
I think the closest thing is kind of like his Southland Tales character.
Goon.
Yeah, but Goon's, he's still kind of like a goon.
Yeah, no, but he's like sensitive and he's simple and sweet.
Yeah, but he's still kind of like he still has like a little bit of the wild side. You know what I mean?
Not really.
He's a goon though.
Yeah, he fights people on the ice, but he only does it because he's good at it.
That's fair.
It's not like he's like, yeah, let's go, man.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, and he's also not, you know,
like every time he walks,
hey, fuckface.
Yeah,
like
Stifler.
Yeah,
like anytime he goes up to him, he's like, good luck to you. And then like they fight, you know.
I guess I haven't really seen the movie in a really long time.
Yeah, he's like he's this total like nice guy, like he's super sweet in the entire movie, but he just can fuck people up on the ice.
You know, I'm thinking about his character when he was like the I can't remember the name of it, but he's like a tennis coach.
What?
Yeah, he's like a tennis coach for a high school. It's a really bizarre, fucked up, like dark comedy.
Weird.
I can't remember the name of it, but
yeah. So Alex freaks out and gets 7 people killed off.
So it's him, Alex, Clear, Todd, Carter. I can't remember Amanda Detmer's character's name. 5 students and then the teacher. Alex, Clear, Carter, her, Todd, and the teacher. Yeah, so 6.
6. Okay,
6 yeah.
altogether.
Sorry, that math. And the teacher has a mental breakdown after all of this, which is kind of sad. But like, so they're like pretty much like it all happens, and then Devin Sawa, Alex, he sees a lightning bolt outside of his window, and I don't know what the symbolism of that was for, other than lightning's coming for you, death's coming for you. I don't know. It was weird.
Oh, well,
I felt like it was an unneeded scene.
So basically, like but before they're they're at the gate fighting, and then the plane takes off and explodes.
Oh, explodes. Yeah.
So his premonition came true.
So then everyone's like kind of scared of him, and he's like, I'm not a witch. Or no, she's like, he's not a witch.
And the FBI is basically like, this guy's a terrorist because
but they can't prove it.
Yeah, like.
Dude, actually, I know if this happened like post 9/11, he would have been in jail for just no matter what.
Until they figured out what the fuck went on. Yeah.
So, I mean, let's just kind of fast forward to the deaths pretty much after this. Because, like, we have, like, I mean, there's the memorial service where more, like, background hit, like, more of, like, setting up.
Carter, I don't know you shit.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Just like, don't think I owe you shit because you saved my life. He's like,
that's when I went, what the fuck is this dude's deal?
He's the overly aggressive jock for no reason.
Yeah.
So.
AKA an asshole.
So the first one to die is his friend Todd. And a very unfortunate, that'd actually be a sucky way to die, man. Like, just slipping in the bathtub, getting choked up on a clothesline, and like the soap, just like, I would have started trying to pull myself up from the back of the wire of the rope. You know what I mean?
I think he tried that. Excuse me.
Excuse you. Goosh.
Make the baby burp.
So yeah, it's actually, like I said, the cinematography is done really well. It kind of like builds this weird tension of just like him turning on the light, plugging in the stereo with like water. There's water leaking out of the back of the toilet, like the water, like where the water is connected for your toilet. And this is kind of where it kind of like hints at like there is a supernatural power at control here.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's no reason for this stuff to be happening other than death wants what it's owed type thing. And so the water that's leaking out of the toilet is kind of like he slips on it. Well, I guess there's like a little bit of buildup. Like he's like, why is he shaving with a razor so fucking poorly?
Well, yeah, like that was kind of cool. It made you like. I think that's the only one that really does that in the movie. Yeah, because like first you're like, oh, he's gonna cut his own throat by accident. No, okay, he's gonna electrocute himself.
With the teacher, there's a couple of things, but it's kind of all more setting up to like what's gonna happen.
Yeah, but this is kind of like, he's gonna he's not gonna do that. He's gonna electrocute himself. Nope, not gonna do that. And then when he got to the bathtub, he was like, oh, he's gonna fall and break his neck.
Nope, he falls and hangs himself.
And then that leads to everyone thinking, well, that's like the whole thing too. That's where Sawa kind of like loses it to me. And I think it's just the writing. I think it's the direction too. Yeah, well, he's like sitting there and he's like, obviously, which I was like, oh, that's incriminating. So this whole build up with Todd and his death is coming up, and at the same time it's cutting over to Sawa, and he's got
looking at a penthouse. Sorry, yeah, but he's got all the airplane stuff.
The airplane stuff.
This is also 39 days after the accident had happened.
They got like.
He got obsessed with figuring out plane accidents and plane.
Well, it's like if the FBI comes in there and looks at that, that's gonna look real incriminating.
Yeah, exactly.
But like while he's doing that, like he gets these like weird little premonitions throughout, not like full visions.
It's like a feeling.
Yeah, it's like very much a sensation.
Clear have a conversation about that. Do you know what this is? Springy head guy.
But like, and then so he's sitting there doing research on airplanes, and an owl comes to his window, and he throws a newspaper at it, and then
he throws his penthouse at it.
Oh, is it the penthouse?
Yeah, he throws the penthouse at it. Because he was getting ready to touch himself.
No, you put it back in the drawer.
No, because he was about to put it back in the drawer, and then he threw that.
Anyways, he throws something at the bird, and then like a piece of the page rips off, and it says Todd. So he goes, "Oh no, Todd's in trouble." So he runs over to Todd's house. Todd's already dead. The parents obviously think because of the way he died, it's a suicide to survivor's guilt.
Yeah. Because he misses his brother because his brother was on the plane.
Yeah, and this is that whole like moment where, God damn it, where just Sawa just doesn't really convey a lot of like.
Yeah, it's like his best friend he just found out that his best friend is dead. He's watching him in a body bag get carried out of the house, and he's just like, "What happened?" No, he wouldn't do that because we were gonna hang out. Like,
why would he make plans with me if he was planning on killing himself?
It's like I could see like it beginning with that, but then like there's like if I was to see my best friend get carted out in a body bag, I would have a complete breakdown.
Yeah, and it's just his whole like time too. He's just really calm about everything. It's kind of irritating.
That's not, but I would say that's the only really time in this movie that it really is kind of like at a low number, like a 1 or a 2. Because after this, it just starts to escalate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, because then it goes into now that this whole thing has happened, Clear and Alex are starting to figure out this whole theme of death has a design. Mm-hmm. It's preordained that when it's your time, it's your time.
Yeah.
Like,
then the next death, what happens is Amanda Detmer's character. Why can't I remember her name? I guess we can just look it up.
I can do it real quick. I got it right here.
Terry.
Because
she's dating Carter, the jock, and so it's like Alex and Clear are having coffee, just casually talking about this thing, and Carter in his fucking nice Camaro, by the way, his SS Camaro.
No, it's a Nova.
Was it Nova?
It's a Nova.
I thought that. Oh, okay.
I think it's a Nova. Oh, no, it's not a Camaro. I think it's a Nova.
Are you sure?
I think it's an SS.
The SS? Oh, okay.
I think it's like a 1970s Nova.
Yeah, it's a nice like older muscle car.
Yeah, I think it's.
And he
I might be totally wrong about that, but I think
he's pulling up and he just sees Clear and Alex having coffee, and for whatever reason he has to like fucking angrily turn around and get out and talk to him and it's like what is your deal, bro? like off the GD. And then it's also kind of spooky because like everybody that survived the plane crash just happens to be there at that moment. Even like Alex Hitchcock, or Hitchcock. Or what
Alex Browning.
Yes, but I'm trying to remember Hitchcock's first name.
Oh,
Ben? No, Sean William Scott's character, Hitchcock, whatever.
Billy.
Yeah, everybody is there. So it's Carter, Terry, Billy, the teacher coming out of the coffee shop. Also funny when Alex tries to go and talk to the teacher, like at the memorial. He's just like try to like console her, and she's like, "Stay the fuck away, or stay away from me. You scare the shit out of me."
Yeah.
She's like, "Holy shit."
But like while this whole like weird situation like is happening, and Terry is like yelling about how she's not gonna let this plane crash determine the rest of her life. Sawa, Alex, sees in the reflection a bus drive by, looks at the street, but there's no bus. Mm-hmm. And in the fight, she like storms off and then steps in the street and then gets flattened by a bus. And the teacher gets blood all over. I'm like,
everybody gets blood all over.
I know, but this poor teacher, man. This teacher's like she's not handling it.
She's not having a good school year.
Yeah, she's having a bad year.
So death number 2, and so this is kind of like Alex, like you're starting to really pick up that Alex is kind of like he's not really like he's seeing like premonition type stuff of like, oh, this is what's gonna happen, but
he makes it clear he's looking for the patterns.
Yeah,
once you are aware of it, you can start seeing them. Mm-hmm. You know,
and Claire, even him and Clear have like a conversation that she can kind of feel it too, like that's why she got off the plane because she believed him. Ooh.
Yeah,
springy head guy. That's one of my favorite lines in the entire movie because it's so honest. It was just such a. He's like
I don't know,
springy head guy. This is how you make me feel, Alex. And I'm like, oh, okay. So let's see. Who's the next death? Is it the teacher? The teacher's the next death.
Yeah.
Oh, this is also when he discovers the pattern. Because he sees the explosion, the fuel line plan on like a news thing.
Like a shortage, electrical shortage led to one of the main engine's fuel lines was caused the explosion.
Yeah,
and then it shows him the order on which they were sat, basically, and where the explosion is the order of which they would have died, which is the plan. So it's going down the list. Plan. Yeah, it's going down the list.
He found the blueprint, and so he wants to go and like try to protect the teacher. So he starts stalking outside of her house. Like, dude, you have no couth, bro.
Yeah.
You have no couth, zero couth. And she's terrified and she's moving out of the town. And like, there's a little like backstory thing. She's like on the phone. She's talking about how she's guilt ridden. She has true huge survivor's guilt.
She's like moving from the town she grew up in
because every time she turns a corner, it's just like she's just
perpetually terrified.
Yeah, and looks out the window and lo and behold, who is there?
Fucking Sawa.
Fucking Devin Sawa. fucking Stan fucking
Yeah.
and she calls the cops, I'm guessing, because the FBI agents show up.
Stan?
He's Stan, yeah.
He is?
Yeah, in the Eminem video.
Oh, really?
He's good. Yeah, he's Stan.
Oh, I haven't seen that video in years.
Yeah, no, like
okay. Hey, teacher, don't pick up my calls.
FBI come and pick him up while he's staring at her tires. Like, what are you doing? And he's honest. Just checking if the air pressure's
but he
good.
looks like a fucking serial killer.
I know. But that's like he's supposed to, because he's now slowly becoming unraveled as well.
Yeah.
So then now the teacher's death, and also has a lot of vodka in that cup, by the way.
Okay, also, what kind of vodka is she drinking? That shit was flammable.
So he's drinking straight Everclear,
yeah,
man.
that's what I said. I was like, that's
or
not
151.
Everclear. Like, what is that?
But movie logic.
It's the cleanup paint. Strip paint off cars.
She's a little on edge. So yeah, to cut off the edge. Cut off the edge. What's the phrase?
Cut the edge. Cut the edge off? I don't know.
Cut the edge off.
Take the edge off.
Yeah, here you go. Take the edge off. She pours herself a mug of vodka or rum. Maybe it was Bacardi 151,
I don't know.
And that's when Death's plan comes out, and the crack on the mug comes, and she leaves a trail from...
Which actually was pretty interesting, too, because she had just put hot tea
in that cup.
and then poured ice cold
didn't think about that.
liquid.
That crack could have...
Yeah, and I was like, oh, they actually like thought out like
I didn't think about that
why
at
would
all.
it crack? Because you hot and then cold.
Why would the water drip out of the toilet and then get sucked back in?
That one didn't make sense.
Yeah, because it's because of death is
No, I know.
out of control.
I know, but I just...
Oh, we also forgot to say that there's like, before everybody dies, there's generally like a John Denver song playing, which like that's kind of like an ongoing thing through this entire movie.
It's the Jeepers Creepers song.
Yeah.
When you
type an idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you hear that.
Yeah.
Because John Denver died in a plane crash.
Yep. And then also they see kind of like a flash of like a shadow in something and like a reflection around them type thing. Or yeah, so like there's like that's kind of like the death is at the doorstep type thing.
Yeah.
So essentially, she just pretty much drips alcohol around her apartment or her house into her computer monitor, which then explodes in her face because of it. This is kind of one of the more unlikely deaths, but I was sitting there thinking, I was about to like make a note like this is super all like wouldn't really happen in real life, but then I was like, oh, but this is like death.
Orchestrating kind of thing.
Yeah, I was like, there is a higher power at hand here. You know?
So yeah, the boob tube the computer explodes, causing a shard to hit her jugular.
Yep.
She's like going around tripping on her own blood. The fire. It's bad.
Yeah, I forget what causes the
sparks from the computer land on
right.
the vodka, travel back to the gas stove.
Yep, that's
setting
right.
that on fire.
Boom.
She then reaches for the cloth that's on top of her knife block, pulls it down.
This is one of the most brutal deaths ever.
Pales her. Fucking Sawa shows up. Like, I'm going to save you. And then somehow the chair falls over and impales it and
place the knife.
Fucking fatality.
Yeah. And then the oven explodes, and then he runs out, and there's Hitchcock.
There's Billy. Billy just kind of pops up in this movie.
And he's like, hey, what's up, man? What you doing? Boom. Oh. And so kind of at this point,
now, because of this and the whole weirdness, the FBI are kind of like convinced that he is killing people. He's a killer.
Yeah. Let's see. Him and Clear kind of like, oh, that's right. He kind of reaches out to Clear, and she then has them all meet at the memorial, the 11 ones that are left alive. He kind of tells Carter and everybody what's happening and blah, blah, blah. And then Carter, who can't handle this shit, then, sends them on a fucking suicide mission, speeding down the street in his goddamn car.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, what? He, like, takes his hand off the fucking wheel, and, like, they almost run into a goddamn semi-truck, gas.
That's another moment
gas truck.
where you're like, oh, is this it? Nope. Oh, is this it? Nope.
And because they're like, they all kind of like believe him, but then like the true believement comes in when Carter, as the asshole, he parks his fucking car on the middle of a goddamn railroad track. And
because Carter's whole thing is like, and even in the beginning of the movie, is that he's in charge of his own destiny. He doesn't believe that there's some malicious supernatural force that is
Well, and then also he's like, well, then if we're all destined to fucking die, then who fucking cares?
What's
let's
the
just
point?
let's get it over with. Let's just do it now.
Yeah.
If I'm next, then you're next, then you're next, then you're next. So let's just fucking end it. And it's very dark.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, in a moment of realization, he's like, oh, I want to live. And then Devin Sawa, Alex, he saves him, pulling him out of the car at the nick of time.
Because he like decides that he wants to live, but the car has stalled as a train's
And
coming.
then, the car won't turn on, and then his seatbelt's stuck. So it's literally death is at, there is the power of death is now here. Mm-hmm. And he's, and then, Alex saves Carter last second. And so he intervenes. He intervened with Death's plan. So then it skips Carter and he goes to the next person on the list, which is apparently Billy, because his head gets chopped the fuck off.
He had the best death out of all of them.
Dude, the most sudden, cool, the coolest one.
Well, I just meant the easiest.
Yeah.
Boom, done.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't like fucking the teacher bleeding out with a piece of glass in her jugular and
yeah,
a knife
exactly.
in her
It
abdomen.
wasn't just kind of like, that's painful, it's painful. It's just kind of like, oh, fuck, that just
because a piece
happened.
of the car is on the tracks, and then the train going over it like a chain hooks it up and fucking flings it across and just chops his head clean off. And like,
which,
whoa.
I mean, it'll make you terrified to stand next to trains for a while. Mm-hmm. And let's see. Well, since Carter, did you see that Carter pissed himself?
No.
There was literally just like a piss stain down his jeans.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, no. He peed his pants.
I would too.
Yeah, right. So pretty much, now Clear's going to take Alex to her cabin that she apparently has to keep him safe. And he's like safety blocking everything in the goddamn cabin.
Yeah, he's like death-proofing it.
Because apparently he's next. But he's not actually next, is the thing. Because he forgot that he switched seats. His actual first seat was supposed to be before everything.
Yeah.
And so while he's like at this cabin and, some spooky stuff happens and, he almost,
he's like talking
tetanus. The one thing I overlooked, man, I'm going to beat you.
He's talking shit to death.
Maybe not forever, but I got you this time.
Totally losing his mind.
Whatever the fuck he was eating too.
It's supposed to be like canned chicken.
Ugh.
Like tuna, but like chicken, but it was banana. It was banana paste.
Oh, really? Is he a vegetarian or something?
This is what it was in the movie.
So he realizes at this moment that he's actually maybe not the one next. That it's actually Clear because he switched seats. So his
this is like the climax of the movie at this point.
Yeah. I forgot to talk about Tony Todd and his spooky scene when they go and see Todd's dead body when they sneak into the goddamn mortuary.
Oh yeah, like,
and she's like, breaking the rules makes me all.
Yeah, they break in to go see Todd's body for whatever the fuck, and they meet Bloodworth, Todd.
It's just like super casual cool that two teenagers broke into his goddamn mortuary.
Yeah, there's like a fan theory that he is the human embodiment of death because he's in more than
So
one
I
of them.
called it right, didn't I? I was right as a kid. I don't remember if I was talking about it on this or not.
I think that the writers debunked that.
Yeah, of
but
course.
It's like that fun little.
He's behind it, isn't he?
But he like explains that death has a plan, and that leads to this whole great. He's the architect, and he has a design thing.
Candyman is death, apparently. Which actually, not
fits.
Yeah. He realizes that it's actually Clear, who's actually next, and she's actually got that's pretty suspect. Like the fucking the wire, what is it?
Power line.
Power line. Thank you. That shit's scary as fuck.
That scene was cool. So the power line ends up like exploding, and the line hits the ground, and it's just like, get near her, dog. Which I was like, no, not the dog.
Not the dog. Actually, if you ever want to get people super invested in a goddamn scene, put an animal in danger.
100%. And then like wind's going, and it causes like the another clothesline hanger thing to hit the outdoor pool, which causes the water to spill out, and then the line hits it, but she jumps on the house at the right time.
Yeah, she's fucking survival.
Yeah. And then the power surge causes all the lights to start exploding in the house. She gets in the car.
Yeah, and then she's trying to pull like the can't turn on the garage door opener because the power's out clearly. Devin Sawa is now running through the woods at this point with the FBI chasing him. I kind of missed like how did they find him in the cabin or
He was leaving the cabin
as they were pulling up?
As they were pulling up, and then he takes off through
How
the
do they
woods.
know he was in the cabin?
It implies that Clear told them, finally.
Oh.
Like they were going to put him in protective custody and yada, yada,
Oh,
yada.
okay. Okay. Well, so he kind of gets there to save the day, nick of time type thing, and he realizes that she can't get out of the car, and he's next anyway, so he's just going to he's going to sacrifice himself to break the cycle and whatnot type thing. So he grabs the power line so she can get out of the car. Which would she be able to? Would that electrocute her if she was to, like, if it was like power line was on the hood of the car and she was to try to open the car door? Do you think that would actually it would travel through like that? Maybe. I don't know. I really don't know the power of electricity.
Yeah, I don't know.
Also, he would have just been dead.
He would have been fried.
Yeah, not just like a quick, not just the split second he touches, the instant he touches that power line like
Yeah,
that.
the amount of voltage in that.
He's dead. Like I had a family friend that happened to, like when I was very young.
Yeah, like there's not really any bouncing back from that one. But
Yeah.
so he like saves the girl, yada yada yada.
And then they start dating. Yeah, and it's implied. And pretty much like, yeah, he saves the day. But there's like an explosion from a canister underneath the car. The explosion knocks him away from the power line and everything. And then it's is it 6 months later?
6 months later.
Yeah, 6 months later. And Clear and Carter are getting are on a plane, landing in France apparently, and then whoop, there's Alex. He's like, yeah, who would have thought we'd be getting on a plane again?
So they finally finish this trip, and they've come to the realize, like they think that because they were able to skip and intervene with the plan, the cycle of this particular death cycle for them is over, and now they can live long, happy lives.
And the movie it ends with them discussing the whole thing at a cafe in France or a little bar in France, and Alex is still kind of like obsessed with like the idea of like, well, what if like it's just looping back type thing? We don't know, we haven't seen any premonitions. But then he kind of like he hears the John Denver song being played, like the guy in French, the acoustic guitar player, and then like some like thing he just kind of he starts to feel the premonition stuff again. But so he's scared and he's like, I'm just gonna go back to the hotel, and then Clear sees
the
bus thing in the window, and she kind of like saves him. Like she's like, Alex, wait, and he stops, and all of a sudden the bus goes by, and he's like, oh, okay. But then the bus kind of like spins out of control and crashes, causing a chain of events of this giant sign to come swinging down. And then Carter, who was kind of an asshole at the end of this still, even though they're friends, comes and saves the day, tackling Alex. And then Alex is like, oh, and then Carter sitting up is like, so who's next? As you see the sign swinging back down, about to hit Carter, and then boom, end credits and roll credits. So like I said, it ends mid-action, but it's like I feel like that could be a good ending for this movie, and also without even like setting up for there to be sequels. Like I feel like just how this like if there was no sequels, I would be satisfied with this ending because it's pretty much insinuating that they can't escape death.
Yeah, it's like one thing too. I was watching at the end of it, I realized that I don't really consider this a horror movie. I find it more of a thriller. Like I didn't really find it scary. I really enjoyed it, but it's one of those I don't need to watch the sequels. Also because it does that thing that I don't particularly care for, and I understand that with these kind of films you have to do it, the escalation thing.
Yeah.
It's like this and Friday and Halloween and all, Nightmare. The fans want to see more and more creative kills, basically. Exactly. So they start to get more and more out of fucking control. Yep. And that's like that's kind of what that's what the sequels turned into. Yeah, and I remember that's why I thought they were stupid. Like, I actually really enjoyed the first one, but I don't think I'd ever need to watch the sequels.
Well, I mean, that's also the great thing about this one is like how it was a movie that scared a generation.
Yeah.
It's, like it's definitely, and because they didn't want to focus on this whole stalker thing.
An entire generation of agoraphobes.
Yeah, pretty much. And also, it's one of the last horror movies that in the last couple of decades, in my opinion, is really original. This idea was a very original for its time.
I would give it that, yeah.
And like I think like it kind of got satirized by the amount of sequels and the idea of like, oh, the creative way, and then Saw and like the creative ways to kill people in Saw, you know, just kind of like this whole idea of like, oh, like out from becoming a movie that was more about you can't cheat death and about survivor's guilt, really.
Yeah.
It turned into like, oh, it's just creative ways to kill teenagers.
Yeah, basically.
You know,
well, because I think about the tanning bed scene in 2 or 3.
I don't remember that. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
cooked,
like,
yeah.
At that point, it's like it became less original because it just became, oh, what is a really cool way we can kill this teenager?
Exactly.
And then became kind of like the, but like yeah, the first one's like a very like thriller. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's got 6.7 on IMDb. I think it's very fitting.
What would you give it?
I get as an IMDb rating.
Mm.
Oh, my Mogwai. A wet Mogwai.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to
Yeah.
say. Because it made sequels.
It spawned the sequels,
and I have no interest in watching them because they'd probably start turning into gremlins at that point.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I would watch the second one again just because like Ali Larter is in it as well. She's kind of like the one that survived, you know, continuing the story. Mm-hmm. I might watch the third one, which I think I've seen because it is Glenn Morgan and James Wong again. Mm-hmm. And to see how they wanted to maybe finish it.
Yeah.
But then The Final Destination, which I think was also supposed to be the last one, hence the name The Final Destination, you know. And
it's confusing when you see The Final Destination and then it says Final Destination 4 and then Final Destination 5.
Exactly.
It's confusing.
And then Final Destination 6, which we'll see what the fuck that is.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, Wet Mogwai.
Wet Mogwai.
All right. Yeah. Because like I almost kind of wanted to give it a Mogwai. But I was like, like the characters really aren't that well developed.
It's just not that well written.
Yeah.
It's just kind of whatever. It's a fun spooky season thriller.
It's definitely not like any type of like gremlin of any sort, you know?
I mean, if you've never seen it.
It's not even turning into a gremlin. It's not like a wet, you know?
Yeah. It's not a Mogwai scene after midnight.
Or, yeah, after midnight. Thank you.
It's one of those, if you're interested in seeing it, I say for the spooky season, definitely, but check it out.
I definitely recommend this movie for, especially if you're like, if you're a horror fan and you haven't seen it, 100% watch it. But just for a movie that really defined an idea of scaring a generation, because it really is, it's genuine in its like way of like, you know, the world around you being the threat.
The threat, yeah. Well, and you hit the nail on the head. It's a very original idea.
Yeah.
You know, and it's and I think it fits into with teenagers trying to fight destiny and the whole, you know, when you're a teenager, you feel like you're immortal, you know. But yeah.
I think that's kind of all we have to say about the movie.
Yeah, that's all I had.
I mean, yeah, it's enjoyable.
So, Wet Mogwai, please like, subscribe. Join us next week for Cursed. Right, that's what we're doing. I'm actually very excited for that.
I am too. Because
I remember really enjoying it.
I just don't think I have seen it actually.
And I think it takes place in LA.
Oh, cool.
I think that's where it takes place. But yeah, so we're going to be doing Cursed, and that will be the end of our 4 block. This is our 3rd.
Yep.
Please like, subscribe, tell your friends, send us some comments if we got anything wrong. Yell at us.
Tell us what we are wrong.
And yeah.
School us. We are inferior. I don't know where I'm going with that. All right.
We love talking to you guys. This is Tommy.
This is Jacob.
This is Tommy and Jacob's Mixtape. Bye, guys.